The following is a presentation of the Belly Up Sports Media Network.
This is Haymaker Combat Sports. Here, coming straight from the source. Only with the real, they ain't here to dress it up. Sweet science, MMA, you can get it all from us. Trust, 5 stars cause it's live. And through the fight game, we can guide ya. Slick talking, putting them in caution. Passing all the goals cause the audio is awesome. What you waiting for? Spread the word, tell a friend. This the podcast where all of the discussion ends. When they start going strike for strike, this the show that'll tell you what you seen in the fight. And they ain't playing on the mic, this a welcome to the show. Warm it up for the squad, Haymaker of the bros. I'm a bow wow, you can hear from the pros. It's Haymaker Combat Sports, time to roll.
Welcome to Haymaker Combat Sports, powered by the Belly Up Sports Media Network. I'm your host, EJ Reed, joined my fellow co-hosts, Aaron Admire, Steve Johnson. What's up, fellas?
Happy Tuesday. Welcome back. Awesome weekend.
What's up, Steve?
Here, man. Back again.
It's a Tuesday. This will be on a Wednesday. What you get into, Admire? Anything interesting this past weekend?
Had the grandson's birthday party on Saturday at Chuck E. Cheese. So I was at Chuck E. Cheese before the fights. And then for the fights, Andre came over, watched the fights with me. The Canadian, he came over and we threw some brats and jalapeno poppers on the smoker. And, with our weather changing here, I put the big TV back out on the patio. So we sat outside and smoked some food and watched the fights.
Andre, what's he been up to? That's a name I haven't heard in a little bit.
He's been stuck in Canada for like over a year. The company he works for that's based in my hometown, something got messed up with his work visa. So they've paid him to sit in a hotel in Canada for like a year. And he just got to come back 2 weeks ago, got his work visa approved and getting all the paperwork straightened out. And he's working on becoming a United States citizen.
Oh, really?
Yep, trying to get his citizenship.
I bet that's going to be a headache to try to get done.
Yeah.
Is he still with his lady?
Nope. They broke up around Christmas time.
Damn, that's even then though. That's a still pretty lengthy time they were together. If you just having this past Christmas.
Yeah, they were because they got together right after we all went to Limp Bizkit, and that was
like 2022. No, I think that was 2022.
Yeah, 4 years ago.
So yeah, wow. Well, that's unfortunate. Well, hoping he's doing all right.
Yeah, he's good.
Yeah. But that citizenship is a bitch though. Because I was talking to one of my frat brothers. He basically came here at like the age of like 3 or 4, and I think he just got his citizenship. I think he's a couple years older than you, Amar. He just got his citizenship finalized like in like a little bit after the pandemic, which is crazy.
Yeah, I don't know what the process is, but I'm sure it's hard. I'm sure it's very costly.
Yeah, but I mean, I guess if you get he probably had his green card. If I didn't get into those details. If you get your green card, you're pretty much good. You just can't. I don't think you can vote with a green card, but they can't kick you out once you got that green card.
Right.
So yeah, hopefully everything goes smoothly with Andre. So you just smoked some brats and kicked it.
Yep, that's all we did.
What do you got? I know you've been cycling through those smokers and cooking appliances recently.
Yeah, we used the upright smoker this weekend, and it did really good. That upright smoker, man, it gets hot quick. So I'm gonna have to play with it some more to get used to it.
That's what's up. You get into anything interesting, Steve?
No, nothing much. Work Saturday, but of course, wind down. Had some friends over.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I was just talking most of the time, and
for the fights or just in general.
As far as like watching the fights.
You said you had friends over for the fights, or you just had friends over in general?
Well, they know I watch UFC Saturday, so they came over, knowing they were gonna watch it. So I mean, they come over, although they're not UFC fans. They do enjoy seeing somebody get time knocked out, or fight's a fight. But wasn't paying attention obviously until the Gautier fight. But that's basically what I did.
Yeah, it's like I used to live like a whole nother life back when I was in Florida, and then even before the IPTV days, where me and my friends I was at school with, we every weekend, not every weekend, every fight pay-per-view weekend, we would we had to go to the bar and watch the fights. That'd be like our thing. There was this place in Florida called Miller's. It was like a chain Florida restaurant. And that'd be our routine. But basically, pandemic since IPTV, I'm watching a whole shit ton of fights solo. So it's always cool when you can kick your friends and watch the fight. It gives it a different vibe. So,
Man, I don't think I mentioned that last show we did. After I think it's 8 years, my IPTV finally dropped me.
I knew about that news from Rucker.
yeah, he messaged me. he asked if it got canceled. I was like, man, actually, a week ago they emailed me and said they are no longer. They've been great. I mean, it's been steady, never had any problems. And they finally, I don't know if they got in trouble, or just decided they're not doing it anymore. But I mean, I've been paying $30 a month for like 8 years just on the dot. And all of a sudden my payment went through, and a week later they said, we're not doing it anymore.
I've gone through like 4 since like 2019. The Cast Solutions, they shut down. Then Gemini Streams, I had that. They shut down. And then I had, what was the one I had?
Didn't you have TNT or something at one time?
I didn't have TNT. What was the one I had after Gemini Streams? I had that for a long time. I had that probably since like 2021 or 22. And they shut down like last year. So I got another one late last year. And it's so far so good. Hopefully. I just do it. I just decided to just do it a year at a time. I think it was a little bit cheaper instead of doing it every month. So, and then like you said, since yours went down, Rucker asked me. Well, he didn't ask me, but like he told me. So I'm like, you want my password? I was like, why was he telling me this unless he was like maybe wanting to get my password? So I gave him my password. And classic old man Rucker, he didn't know like how to do it. He didn't know how to log in because you got to do like about the extreme codes with the IPTV.
Yeah. Mine. They switched to extreme codes like within the last year.
Yeah, he couldn't figure out the extreme code login with whatever player he was using because it varies from player to player whatever you use. So, I mean, he has my information, however he figured it out. So, what are you gonna do now that that's kick the bucket?
I really don't know if I need it, man, because I think everything has kind of moved to the model of being on one of the streaming services. I mean, is there really a need for IPTV anymore if you have all the streaming services? I mean, IPTV is good for like if you want to watch like any of the sports packages or like live TV, it's good for that. But like between my son, my parents, fiance, all her kids, like between everybody I know, like we all exchange passwords. Like I have Netflix, HBO Max, Peacock, Paramount, Amazon Prime. My parents pay for TV, so I use theirs. So I have live TV. I mean, I have access to everything. So I don't even think I need IPTV anymore.
So many damn streaming services. I hope the bubble finally pops one day. But yeah, like you said, there's a lot of them where you don't really need any to, fill your time out with content. But I do still like to have live channels just in case, like you said, for stick and ball sports. I know you're a hockey and baseball fan, so it'd be good for that. Every now and then I'll throw on like a Sports Center and whatnot, even though you could get that through like an individual Disney Plus. I don't know if it comes with like the actual ESPN linear channel though.
I got ESPN, Disney Plus, like Hulu. I mean, it's unreal how many streaming services you have to just to be able to capture everything. And, that's what everybody wanted, though. Everybody was bitching about cable years ago, and that's the monkey paw to it. Like, then everything branched out. And now we want to go back to where it's consolidated. Like,
I never was a fan of the streaming system. I always thought cable was more convenient because everything was there, but you can't, put that back in the can now. So we'll see. But yeah, that's annoying. But yeah, this past weekend, the fights. I know you said you and Andre kicked it and watched it. Steve was kicking and watching it with friends. Let's go through it. Went down, and where'd it go down? Jersey, Brick City. It seems like they go there a lot now. Well, not a lot. They've always been there because they couldn't go to New York for the longest. But I'm guessing they're showing Jersey love just because they were there. That's during that long stretch of where it was banned in New York. So they always got Jersey to fall back on. But looking at some of the results for the early prelims, you had in the flyweight division, Jose Ochoa defeating Clayton Carpenter by a unanimous decision. Middleweight division, we have Sergar Susakayev defeating Jordan Santos by technical submission. Featherweight division, Pat Sabatini defeating William Gomez. Middleweight division, Romy Kovalov defeating Marco Tulio by the unanimous decision. None of us got to watch the early prelims, but looking at some of these results, looks like Kovalov got back on the winning track at Meyer. Can he make like another run, I guess, now that he's in the winning column?
I mean, it's good to see him back in the win column, but gonna have to see what he does from there because I mean, he did not look good at all in his last couple. So you got to see where he goes next. I mean, one fight doesn't make me a believer.
I think he's 35 too. We talked about that on the previous show. I don't know. You think, Steve? You think Kovalov could go on another little mini run in the deep division?
I think he might. Because,
yeah, I guess it's semi-deep middleweight. It's not as deep as like welterweight or lightweight, but you say you think he can go on another run?
Yeah, because his last losses were against true competitors or up on the way. Rodriguez is getting his win streak back and seems hot. He lost against him his last fight, and Costa, of course, he was a contender at one point and lost against him. So I think he's getting his back on track and has to get back in that ranking where he starts to get challenged again around the because I think his chance was with Paulo Costa and and then they threw in Rodriguez with somebody who's coming up and he's back on the win column, so I think he needs to get thrown those fights again with popular fighters like he was getting.
Yeah, and we'll talk about it with the main event. Anything can happen in middleweight, so you never know. You get on a little hot streak, find yourself, knocking on the door of contention. So we'll see what happens with Kovalov moving forward. But let's jump to the preliminary card. It happened on Paramount Plus. Lightweight division, the train that keeps on rolling. The Wily vet Jim Miller defeating Jared Gordon by submission. Excuse me. Lightweight division, Grant Dawson defeating Mateusz Rambetsky by submission. Welterweight division, we had Yaroslav Amosov defeating Joel Alvarez by submission, arm triangle choke, and the captain's one off. The up-and-comer middleweight division, Adebayo Gautier defeating Osman Diaz by TKO. So the Dawson, he just basically bullied Rambetsky for the most of the fight. I was surprised to see that, and then he was able to get the choke. And then same with Amosov, he got the submission arm triangle choke. But going to the beginning fight and the end fight, Jim Miller, he keeps on rolling. I think we talked about on the previous show. He's been in the UFC since 2008, 42, and he's still getting these finishes. But so, Admire, what do you think about the Jim Miller?
I mean, at this point, he kind of makes his own rules. I mean, he's been around long enough. He's fought everybody. If he wants to keep fighting, let him keep fighting. Pretty much give him anybody he wants that's not, way above him. You know what I mean? Like, don't let him pick, somebody that's in the top 10. But, like, if he wants to try to crack somebody that's in that 10 to 15, maybe try to make his way back in, maybe give him a shot. I think he's earned it.
You think he should even attempt to even try to fight those young, hungry lions in the top 15 though? At this point, what does he have to prove?
I think that if he wants to try it, he deserves an opportunity to try it. I'm not saying that he could beat them or even make a run, but I think he's earned the right to give it a try one more time if that's what he wants to do, just because, like you said, I mean, he's been around the UFC for like 18 years, I don't know. I mean, he's got like almost 60 professional fights. I have to imagine that, 30 of them are around the UFC, maybe. So, I mean, he's a company man. So,
Okay. Well, Steve, what do you think about Jim Miller and what he should do next? He's keeps getting these wins at this advanced age.
I mean, I agree with Admire. I think he's, like I said, I would say 15 or around there, between 10, 15 or 15 and 20. I think he has his skills keep him as a good gatekeeper status. I was looking at his past fights, and for what it is, he's not taking damage at his age. I mean, he either gets submitted or he gets or loses a decision. I think I can't remember if that Hernandez fight was bad, but from other than that, it's either the fight ends or he ends the fight, and he's not taking so much damage as a veteran to mingle with those people within around the 15 ranking.
Well, yeah, I get what y'all saying. If he would try to make like one final spurt, but like his peak would probably be like 11 or 12. It wouldn't, like, what is he even getting out, even striving for doing something like that? Am I?
I mean, you never know. I mean, that's the kind of the thing about him is he's one of those fighters that on any given night, he could beat anybody. I mean, he's got great power behind his hands. I'm not saying he's the best stand-up guy, but he does have great power. So all he has to do is land one good shot that kind of stuns somebody, and then his takedowns are good, get him on the ground, and he can submit anybody. So if you put him in there against, anybody, he always has a chance. That's the problem. That could be the reason that the UFC might go against that is, do they want Jim Miller ruining an up-and-comer or a young, hungry guy that's on the rise? Do they want the old man coming in there and, putting out that flame?
I don't know. Who knows what UFC brass thinks nowadays? But he did look good. I don't know how high Gordon was ranked, but he basically just dominated. Jim Miller dominated him on the ground, and then he sunk in that choke. He still looks strong in the grappling department. That guillotine he put on, it looked like super tight. I definitely wouldn't want to be in that. So, I mean, he still got juice in the tank. 42 nowadays isn't what it was like 20, 30 years ago. So he's not like ancient, but like MMA is a grueling sport, man. I mean, you could just fall off a cliff all of a sudden. So,
right. But like you have Beneil Dariush up there at number 14. I mean, I would watch Jim Miller and Dariush fight. I think that'd be a great fight, actually.
Yeah, I wouldn't be mad at that. I don't know if you had other people pulled up on your screen right now, but
yeah,
I'm sure he's faced a lot of people already that, I don't know, a lot of people that he's probably faced have retired probably, because I'm looking at 2019. He faced Clay Guida, Oliveira, Pettis, and Poirier. So like a lot of people back in the day that are already retired. I'm trying to see if any younger guys that he faced. He lost to King Green. He lost to Hooper. He lost to Green too. So some of those guys that are lingering around, he lost to Cerrone. He beat Cerrone, and Cerrone, he's not in the. He's retired as well. But I don't know. They said so during the fight or during the post-fight interview and whatnot. They say he wants to keep going, and he is at 47 UFC fights, and he wants to get to 50. You think he'll make it to 50?
Yeah, I think so. It really isn't that hard to do if you think about it. I mean, if he stays healthy, and we talked about it a few shows ago that for some reason the UFC has like this group of people that they just keep throwing into fights. A lot of them have a short turnaround, and he kind of falls into that kind of reliable fighter that they could throw in there on short notice if they need to, or just keep him lined up and fighting every 6 months. So, yeah, I mean, I think he could make it for sure.
I think it was good that he took a year off. He didn't fight since April of last year at his age. I think they said he had a injury, maybe that he was alien, but I mean, that's a lot of fights. And if he does get to that, that record will be unbeatable. I don't think anybody will touch that as far as amount of UFC fights. I don't know. You think he can get to 50, Steve?
I think definitely. I mean, hell, they gave Kevin Holland 4 fights in a year, if I'm not mistaken.
I think he fought like 5 times that 1
Five,
year.
yeah. So I'm pretty sure, and he's good, and if he like protects himself, keeps his guard up, I think he'll easily get 3 fights in before the year's over if he wants to hurry up and get that done for retirement, or meet his goal.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at it, he doesn't really get finished either, but you never know. Even if you're not getting finished, you might be taking more damage if you just toughen out the fights. But, on paper, if he's not getting finished like that, I guess you can keep going. Then Oliveira choked him out. Last time he got knocked out was Hooker, and that was in 2018. So maybe he's not accumulating a lot of damage the way he's losing. And then before that, Chiesa choked him out in 2015. Cerrone knocked him out. I didn't realize they had 2 fights. Cerrone knocked him out in 2014, but only getting finished 2 times in the past 12 years. That's pretty good, isn't it, Amar?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I mean, he's a good fighter. I mean, he doesn't have the biggest name, but he's got a huge resume, and he's not that bad.
Yeah, he's just one of those consistent guys. So we'll see what they give him moving forward. But moving on to that last fight that was on the early prelims, Gauthier, guy who's been a lot of radars, he did what he needed to do, and he knocked out Diaz. What's your thoughts on watching that, Amar?
First thought is Diaz, man. He's got a hell of a chin. He could take a punch. He was eating that shit that whole first round. I was like, damn, dude. And it was kind of weird. Used to seeing Gauthier, taking people out in the first round, but Diaz has hell of a chin and survived, but wasn't long into the second round. It caught up to him. We've said it before. I think Gauthier, I think, has a very high ceiling. I think that someday you're probably going to see him fight for a belt. I mean, he's just kind of a total package from everything that I can see. I don't really see a whole lot of flaws in the dude's game yet.
Yeah, I mean, he's gonna have to get tested eventually. I gotta think back to some of his other fights. I don't know if anybody's really tried to test him in the grappling department. Maybe Steve has a better memory, but what are your thoughts overall on the fight, Steve?
Yeah, it was pretty much what I thought. Although I feel like a little bit in his style, although I think this fight was a domination still, he's starting to get around people in the ranking. I'm assuming that skills starting to matter, and like we saw his last fight, he had a little bit of problems doing his signature round 1 knockout, and on this one I think it affected him his last fight to take his time and pick his shots, because through the first round I see he was picking up his shot selection as far as power shots, and then it just came to in the second round. I still think he has devastating power, but I feel like he's still a new process of understanding the game. And I feel like if he gets fed too early, I mean, he already ran against somebody that we don't know and had a decision. Somebody kind of figured him out to avoid his power. So I like to see him not thrown in there so fast yet, just based off his last fight. And this fight, he's getting used to that. I think when to turn on that end of the round, in the first round, a fighting style, or ease off and pick your selection. I think he's figuring that out right now.
Yeah, I mean, he's still young, so he's gonna learn as he goes. But talking about the actual fight, you didn't think it was an early stoppage? Because I thought it was early stoppage. Looks like Diaz still had all his faculties and he was still moving. It wasn't. I mean, if you would, like, I always go back to Frankie Edgar and Gray Maynard. Frankie Edgar got knocked down a few times, but he was still, you know, he had all his wits about him. That's what Diaz seemed like. He still had his wits about him. And he didn't get a chance to recover. The ref just jumped in there automatically.
I feel like that it was a good stoppage. I think that he was getting ready to take a lot of damage. I think that he was kind of shook up. And I think that had the ref not stopped it, he was getting ready to eat like 3 big shots that really would have done some damage to him. So, and that's what sucks. It's hard to say that a stoppage is good based on a what if, or I think this is getting ready to happen, because you don't know for sure. But myself, Andre, the ref, and the commentary people all thought the same thing was getting ready to happen.
Of course, Daniel Cormier and Joe Rogan, because they know that gets the ratings, they're gonna be like, "Oh, he's out." But like, just looking at it from unbiased and neutral perspective, I just think it was a little bit early. Like you said, you can't stop it just because you think he's gonna take damage. Like that's what the ref's job's for. So if he eats like 2 or 3 hard shots and he's not responsive, then go in there and stop it. But I just feel like you still got to give the guy a chance. What do you think, Steve, about the stoppage?
Well, just going off the memory in my head, I felt like he was out of it enough for the ref to call the fight. Although you get stung and you do weird stuff, I feel like he was doing involuntary, putting his hand up after he got hit. And,
yeah, sorry to interrupt. Yeah, look at it on TikTok while Steve's talking about it. Go ahead, Steve.
And I feel like he was, like, based off still on his knees, it reminded me of when Gaethje stunned Cerrone. He was on his knees. I mean, he was about to get scraped up with a shovel uppercut, or that's what I saw. And usually people in that, they either know if they're on the ground ready to get hit like him, you just pull guard, or get on your back so you can avoid a devastating hit. I think he would have been KO'd or hurt even more. I don't think he could get his balance either, from what I remember.
Yeah, I thought it was slightly, like, I'm not gonna go burn a building down because I thought it was too early, but I thought it was slightly a little bit early.
Well, rewatching it right now, so with the hit, he goes limp, but it kind of looks like when he hits the ground, it wakes him back up. So he kind of looks like he was out as he was going down, because his whole body goes limp.
Yeah, like the initial shot, it looked bad, but like when he was on the ground, he still looked like he was good. I don't know. I feel like I've seen the refs in the past let things go for a little longer than that. Yeah.
Well, okay, so I just slowed it down, and the ref is jumping in there while he's basically out. If you slow it down, he's not up defending himself while the ref is jumping in there. He's doing all that after the ref has already stepped in. He's pretty much out of it. Just go to TikTok and look it up. Kind of slow it down.
There's such thing as like a flash knockout where you might be out of it for a second, but then you gain your wits about you. But I don't know. I'm sure
I'm sending it to you so you can see the one that I'm watching. But it's I'm going to stick with it. It's a good stoppage.
Well, you gotta defend yourself at all times. So yeah, but I'm excited to see what happens with Gauthier moving forward, because he's a good prospect, and anything can happen, like I said, the middleweight division. But let's move on to the main card, fellas. At catchweight, because somebody missed weight, Jeremy Stephens. We had Ken Green defeating Jeremy Stephens by submission. All 3 of us had Ken Green. Green started off with, classic Green stance, hands down, put the volume on pretty early in the fight. He was landing those push kicks and jabs, taunting Stephens like Ken Green always does. And then the fight paused after Green landed that accidental kick, and I'm doing air quotes for people listening, to the groin. But when you look at it on replay, we can see it was on the belt line. So I don't know what Stephens was doing in that scenario, but I'll let y'all talk about that once I pass the mic off. And then once they restarted it, Stevens tried to put the pressure on Green against the fence, but Green timed that takedown basically perfectly, and then he transitioned to the side control and then got the back, and he got those hooks in and got the choke and got the win. And the King Green train keeps rolling. What are your thoughts on this one, Amire?
Well, that's where I lost my first bit of money.
But you picked them though.
I did pick him, and I also put in a bet. I bet on King Green to win by first round knockout because it paid like 3 or 4 to 1. $20 paid like $80 or some shit. So in the one, and he ended up winning by submission first round. I was like, man,
I don't even think he wins by submission that often.
I didn't think so either, but he's actually got 10 submission wins to his credit.
Really? Wow.
Yeah.
I would never guessed.
Clue.
The last one he got was 2023, it looks like.
Yeah.
No, he got one in 2024 as well. No, he lost to Patty Pyramid by. But so the last one he actually got was, I didn't realize he submitted Ferguson.
Yeah. I had no clue. 12 knockouts and 10 submissions. I just always thought of him as a knockout guy. Never even thought to look at it just because I don't remember him ever submitting anybody.
All right. But like we do gotta, sometimes numbers do lie. He's only got 2 in the UFC though.
All right, so that makes more sense.
But now 3 after this weekend. But before that, he only had 2, and he's in the UFC for a while. He's been in there since 2013.
All right, so maybe that's why I was leaning heavy on it. I just figured that they're both heavy-handed guys that it's going to be a knockout either way. And I had already picked King Green on here, so I was like, okay, I'm going King Green first round knockout. Turned my 20 into 80. Didn't happen, but. It pretty much, for the most part, went the way I thought it would. I mean, I thought King Green was going to be the better fighter. I think Jeremy Stevens has lost a lot of skill. That's why he's left the UFC a lot of times. That's why he's bounced different promotions. I don't think he's really. I'm not going to say he hasn't been in an exciting fight, but he hasn't had an impressive win since 2018. I think Josh Emmett. Or maybe Gilbert Melendez back then. But I mean, Jeremy Stevens has had 1 win in the last 8 years. I mean, put it that way. So
terrible.
Yeah. So terrible. I mean, that's just about the only way to say it. So fight win as I expected. King Green. I used to not be a fan, but actually, he's really grown on me. I like him. Too bad he's just growing on me at the tail end of his career.
Yeah. I guess it's better late than never, though. What are your thoughts on this one, Steve?
Yeah, I would have said it would have been a better outcome, but Jeremy Stevens, it looks like he's heading to retirement. I didn't see the urgency of him. Well, he did get in his face, but didn't pull no triggers. The Jeremy Stevens we know, throwing those bombs, and I don't think he's totally in the game no more, because I totally expected a different fight from him. Green did what he was supposed to do, and I don't know how long they're going to keep Jeremy Stevens, because I was just, not only you said his losses, but just his performance. It looked like he wasn't going to show his old self, or if he even can.
I don't know. You think they even give him another fight, Amire Stevens?
No, because that makes 3 losses in a row for him. And then, prior to that, he left the UFC on a 3-fight losing streak. So technically, just UFC wise, he's on, he can go before that. I mean, he had a no contest, but he had 2 losses before that. So technically, including the no contest, he's on a 10-fight losing streak in the UFC. Or is that 9? 9-fight losing streak? I mean, he's just got a shit ton of losses in a row. He hasn't had a win in the UFC since Josh Emmett in 2018. He deserves no more fights. But, I've been wrong, and the UFC does weird shit. They'll probably give him like a whole retirement package.
I know, right? The trend they've been going on lately. But I want to get back to something that I talked about earlier about the below the waist kick when it on replay looked like it was on the belt line. And so you think that the UFC should implement something like the NBA does at Admire when it on replay it shows that you got hit cleanly and you still fake like you got hit in the nuts? Because the NBA, you get a technical foul if you flop, and you get fined if they go back and look like you flop. You think UFC should do something like that?
They definitely should implement something like that. They should do something that punishes people for faking it, because Jeremy Stevens, I think, was like out of breath or worn down or something. You know, it was on the verge of kind of an ending sequence anyway. But what if he would have got his power back, or, that break gave him something? Think about Yoel Romero and Tim Kennedy. Yoel Romero couldn't get off the stool, and, I would call it cheating. He took extra time, got his breath back, and came back and beat Tim Kennedy. So what if somebody pulled the same thing and took a break saying they got kicked in the nuts and they really did? That's not fair. So I think that they should implement that rule, but I think the punishment for doing it, I don't think it should be to take a point away. I think it should be, okay, you fake getting kicked in the nuts, your opponent gets to put you in a position, kind of like in true American wrestling. You get to pick top position, bottom position, or up against the cage. Like, your opponent gets to pick, what position, you get to restart in.
What if you get to choose either or? You want the point or you want the position? I would be down for something like that.
I would, yeah, that would be cool too. Because, if you're fighting somebody like King Green, that's usually a finisher, maybe he doesn't want that point because he knows it isn't going to go to the distance. So he would rather get the position that's going to help him get to finishing the fight quicker. I think that's a great idea.
They do something like that in the UFC. Steve will probably be able to refresh my memory, where they'll put the guys back in the position that they were if something happens. Maybe it's like a foul or something like that. I've seen Herb Dean do it. He put them back in the position. What, you about to say something, am I?
Yeah, isn't it when somebody does like a up kick from the bottom or something?
Maybe.
Like they do a foul from the bottom, or eye poke from the bottom, and then they break them, and then they restart them from the bottom or some shit like that.
Yeah, something like that. If they commit a foul, and then when they're not in an advantageous position, if I'm not mistaken, Steve.
I would agree with the point. Maybe the position may be based off of what foul or what scenario they were in, but a straight pick of a position without relevancy of what the foul was, I think that would shift the fight too much. I think, but I definitely would agree with, if within the foul, whatever position you would choose, if you were on within the position to stay there, keep it, or get the point. I think we've seen at least once. I want to say Herb Dean. He's gave options to people before.
So am I saying they get to pick any position? Because that might not be fair.
I mean, not any position. Like, you would have to start, like, if you wanted to start out on top position, you would have to be in their guard. Or if you wanted to start out on bottom position, they would have to be in your guard, or tied up against the cage, or just restart standing up, or just something.
I don't know. I feel like that wouldn't be fair if you just if you're not like a ground guy. You're like, all right, he has to get on the ground, even though the foul the guy didn't fake it while you are on the ground. I don't know. But that will keep people from faking it in the future. Like, if you know that you're going to get punished by getting put on bottom position for faking getting kicked in the nuts, you're not going to fake getting kicked in the nuts anymore. I get it. It's almost like a punitive repercussion, but I don't know, maybe, but definitely maybe give them the option of position or point. Some people just want to take the point.
What's crazy is that's the reason that I initially did not like King Green. This exact situation. He fought the Kansas City boy, James Krause, a long time ago, and he kicked James Krause in the nuts, and they actually stopped the fight. and they called the fight off. They said that James Krause got kicked in the stomach and it didn't actually hit his nuts. And they said that, oh, well, you can't continue, fight's over. But he really did get kicked in the nuts and they wouldn't give him time. So it's the exact opposite of what just happened with Jeremy Stevens. And that's why I didn't like King Green. It's weird that it all ties back to him.
It is, full circle. But he probably didn't mean to kick the guy in the nuts, and you hating on him for that.
No, he didn't. But James Krause, he was on the season.
And then Krause ended up being a piece of garbage anyway.
Yeah, he ended up in the gambling scandal. But this was back when he went through the Ultimate Fighter, and he lost on the Ultimate Fighter. But then somebody got injured, and he got a call back from Dana White, and then he went on like this crazy winning streak, and he got put against King Green, and it was kind of a fucked up loss because they said he didn't get kicked in the nuts.
Yeah, it happens, it's a fast sport. But going back to King Green, we talked about it with Miller. 3 fights in a row that he's won. What's next for him?
Man, I don't know. He's kind of one of those guys that have been around. I feel like he's fought everybody, but he really hasn't fought a lot of the younger guys that are up there. But I don't think he's in a position where he could really do that. Has King Green ever fought Michael Chandler? I feel like they haven't, but that would be interesting. I know Chandler's got somebody booked and is fighting soon, but I think King Green and Chandler would be a fun fight.
Why did Green fight Makhachev? It must have been still Makhachev. I was about to say, is it Makhachev's rise still? But it was in 2022. It was a fight night. I guess it was right before Islam won the title, but it's still pretty a high profile fight. Yeah, I wouldn't mind seeing a Chandler Green fight. If you can make that happen, like you said, Chandler has a fight coming up soon. What do you think? Who you like to see him against, Steve?
Trying to look at it. I don't know if it's trying to tell me they scheduled it, but it didn't happen. I guess they already fought. Trying to see the results of it though. But anyways, I always think of Jalen Turner since he came back, but it looks like they already fought 2023.
He knocked Green out.
Yeah. So, I mean, maybe for the aspect of trying to get that rematch back, or just linger around what your ranking is, considering that I think they're maybe giving him just legacy fights, or maybe people are upcoming and popular. To consider them giving him Jeremy Stevens, and he hasn't won in 8 years. I mean, where is Green going with his career if he's choosing these fights to accept in the UFC?
What about so both of y'all, a question for both of y'all, but I'll let you kick it off, Amar. What about a fight that was supposed to happen in March 2018, but Green pulled out to injury and they never put it back on? A guy I think we just saw lose. Beneil Dariush. What about Green and Dariush?
I mean, rankings wise, it makes sense, but stylistically, it doesn't really make sense. I mean, but then again, I mean, we just talked about Green being a submission guy. I mean, maybe it does kind of make sense. And I just think of Green as like being a boxer, and I think Dariush is being the ground specialist. I mean, it could be one of those fights where there's such opposites that it might work because they're both trying their own thing and they might mix it up really well. So maybe it would work.
Isn't that the spirit of the original UFC? Let's see whose style wins in the fight.
Yeah, but I mean, when you have two people that have the same style, that's when it can be boring. So with them being such opposite styles, it might actually be pretty good.
What about you, Steve? You be interested in Dariush and Green?
When I first think of that fight, I just imagine Green struggling with getting taken to the ground and can't get up for 3 rounds.
You think that would happen?
Hmm?
So you think that would happen? You think that would play out like that?
I think so. That's Dariush's style. I mean, as soon as he starts getting this flow, he's probably going to go for that takedown and keep him down.
We
Or probably get a submission.
We just saw Darius still get knocked out in Australia, and then even before that, he got knocked out in New York. So you could counter that wrestling if you're able to catch him.
Yeah, but I think Darius may have enough power to, if Green with his type of style, Darius can be a little slick with his striking also, and I think his Drakkar close. I mean, he be throwing some heat sometimes out of nowhere, and I can imagine Green getting hit. I think Darius is not a small lightweight, and thinking of Green, who he lost to, I mean, he lost to Drew Dober, I'm sorry. And, you know, I see Green good as skill-wise, but I think his jaw might not be there if he gets with somebody who can also strike too.
And similar, Green is similar to Michael Johnson, you know, kind of boxing, heavy-handed. And Darius already beat Michael Johnson, and Michael Johnson is a great wrestler.
When did he beat him though?
2015.
That was 11 years ago. I don't think it's the same Darius that it is in a year. Like I said, by the last two losses, like he doesn't look the same. I agree with y'all. If this was like 2018 Darius, maybe, but I don't know. I feel like, you know, all fights start off on the feet, and if Green gets going, you know, sometimes I can get in people's head with his low hands and him talking trash. You might be able to catch Darius. I want to see it now. I convinced myself.
Yeah, you convinced me. You convinced me. I'm in.
That fight's supposed to happen 8 years ago. Let's make it happen again. And Darius is now number 15. So if Green could beat him, maybe he could crack the top 15 again. So we'll see what happens with Green going forward. But let's keep the ball rolling, fellas. Next up on this card was at welterweight. We had Sean Brady defeating Joaquin Buckley by unanimous decision. All three of us had Buckley in this one. And, hey, got to hand it to Brady. He put on a grappling clinic. He shut down Buckley striking, and he had 12 minutes of control time. He's moving through those transitions, threatening those submissions, and, you know, the scorecards reflected it, the one-side nature of that fight. Gordon Brady, 10-8 rounds, sheer dominance. That unanimous decision. What are your thoughts on this one, Amir?
Yep, this was the fight that officially broke up my parlay. I do bet on my picks every time there's fights, and wow, what a dominant fight this was. I think two of the judges had it 30-25. Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, Sean Brady threw 245 strikes. Buckley only threw 21 and landed only 5 significant strikes. I mean, it just complete domination. I thought Buckley would be able to do something on the ground. Brady was just smothering him. Just amazing job by Brady. You know, the Boo Birds were out on this one, but, you know, it reminded me of like an old GSP fight, just seeing somebody just control everything. Every piece of that fight was controlled. Buckley, yeah, I mean, that's kind of the exposure of, there's the blueprint right there of how to beat Buckley. If anybody wants to beat him, take him to the ground. Yeah, that's pretty much it.
Steve, what are your thoughts on him?
Yeah, I was very disappointed in Buckley. Definitely don't have faith in him in future fights. He's definitely going to have to go back to the drawing board as far as his grappling and wrestling. Because that was just terrible. And, you know, he was like number 9, grades top 10. I mean, if you're having a problem with Sean Brady, like, who's on the top deck?
Oh, right. I mean, Sean Brady catching strays over here.
Oh, yeah. No hate to Sean Brady, man. He defended number 6 quite well and convincingly. I say the shame is on Buckley. I thought he was going to do well. He's number 9, and really saying that he can't even graze the top 5. I thought, and based off of how he fought Brady, he has the same problems as far as when he fought Usman, and you think Usman would have done him worse. I mean, he looked way worse against Brady. So I think unless he changes something in his mindset, because the way he was talking about coming in this fight like he was going to dominate, I think he's a little naive and needs to do some searching.
Maybe, I mean, you could tell, I guess, by all our picks, maybe people are just underestimating Brady. Like you said, Steve, he's top 5. I mean, top 6. He's number 6. Rankings didn't move after this one because, like you said, Buckley was 9. Maybe we need to just give Brady his just due, admire, because when we talk, I mean, we've been doing this show for 3 years now. It's not a whole lot of Sean Brady talks when we talk about contenders and who's up next. So is it time to put some respect on Sean Brady's name, admire?
With that performance, I think so. The only thing that scares me is Belal Muhammad has had one finish in the last 7 years, and his one finish is Brady. Like, how are you going to be the one guy that got knocked out by Belal Muhammad? Like, that's a rough thing to have over your head. But I mean, Brady only has 2 losses, and he's lost to, champ and former champ, and I think Morales is what, number 1?
Morales is ranked at
3,
number 3. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, been beaten by very highly ranked people, so nothing bad. Yeah, I think Sean Brady's ready. I think his next fight should be somebody up there that's gonna be for a contender fight. If Prates isn't going to be fighting for the belt next, I would say put Brady against Prates.
That'd definitely be interesting. Like we said, the spirit of the original UFC is styles to make fights. So it'd definitely be a grappler versus striking type delight. Whoever can implement their game will be able to take that one. I wouldn't mind seeing that, the Prates fight. What about I don't know if has he faced JDD yet? Sean Brady?
No.
What about JDD versus Sean Brady?
I would take that fight as well, just because I think JDD is kind of on his way down. I think if you put
already, he just lost the belt, Amar.
I know he just lost the belt, but I think that changes. And if you put Sean Brady against Prates, yeah, I think you're kind of ruining 2 prospective future champions. But I don't know. Who am I to say?
I definitely think JDD has a lot left in the tank. He's only 29. He's younger than Brady, so he just, kind of hit a rough spot with his last 2 people. But look who he faced, Prates and the champ. So I wouldn't throw the bathwater out with JDD. So no. So, but what about a dark horse with as far as Brady? What about a Usman, Amar? Hmm.
Man, I keep forgetting about Usman. I don't even. When was his last fight?
He like the best, like second best welterweight all time. You just forget about him like that.
Well, it feels like he hasn't fought in forever. When did he last fight?
Hell if I know. Steve might know.
2025.
Okay, so he just fought a little less than a year ago.
Oh, it was an ESPN thing. Man, for some reason I don't remember that. But yeah, I mean, there's always Usman.
Buckley, because I remember watching that. I think we actually did a actual whole show reviewing that. It might have been just me and Steve, but yeah, it was against Buckley in Atlanta. I remember that card specifically. He shook off that 3-fight losing streak. So, you don't think that would be good for him and Brady?
Usman and Brady?
Yeah.
It could be good, but Man, I feel like there's so many big names, so much potential at the top of the welterweight that it's almost bad to have some of those top 5, top 10 fight each other, because you're going to kill somebody's rise, which, it happens in rankings, but there's so many potential guys that could make it back up there. I mean, I would want to put Belal Muhammad against somebody, because you really don't want him being champ. So have somebody beat him, that's what I'm saying. You don't want to put Sean Brady against Usman, because one of them has to lose and kind of move back, but you don't want to stop any of them from moving up. You don't want to risk Prates losing. I don't know, that there's just too many. Welterweight just seems like it's loaded right now.
Well, shit, they got to fight somebody. You just can't have them not fight each other just because they might look bad in a loss.
I know. I know. It doesn't really make sense to not fight, but I'm just trying to. If it was me, if I was the UFC, I would try to do the least impact to your star power, because welterweight is on fire right now.
I don't think the UFC cares about stars nowadays. So
yeah, true.
And they don't want to pay people, so just have them fight each other, and then the cream always rises to the top. So whoever is able to emerge out of that, and then you market that person, and put all your stock into that. But yeah, Brady looked good, but on the other side of things, like you said, Buckley kind of looked like a fish out of water. So it's back to the drawing board. Who would you put him up against next, and what do you think he needs to do to fix those holes?
Well, we've seen he did not like being on the ground, so I don't know if he's fought him yet. But my first thought was somebody that's not going to take him down in MVP. But I think, did they already fight? Was that his last one? No, that was Cannonier.
I know Holland fought MVP as well.
Yeah,
MVP
Holland
likes
did
to float. And what say MVP likes to float. MVP likes to float from welterweight to middleweight. But I think MVP's right now, I want to say he wants to fight at welterweight right now. So yeah, could do that. Is MVP still ranked?
Yeah, and he ain't going to take him down. So I think that's the best bet. You got MVP hanging in there at number 12. Buckley sitting there at number 9. I mean, it makes sense. He ain't going to take Buckley down. Buckley might try to take him down, but it could be an exciting fight.
They let Almas off, jump a lot of people, because MVP was 12, like you said. Now he's 13. But yeah, that might be a good bounce back fight, but you never know what you're going to get with these MVP fights. What do you think, Steve? What do you think would be good bounce back fight for Buckley?
I think that would be a perfect fight. So then Michael Venom Page, he can get what he wants, graze within the top 10. And like I said, he disappointed me, getting Buckley out of the top 10, because that was disappointing. And I think it would be a perfect opportunity to go for that fight. Because all I see is, from what it looks like, Michael Venom Page has enough takedown defense, at least from what we see now, to still get his style off. And I don't think Buckley has enough wrestling to deal with him, let alone he's going to strike with him. And I think Michael Venom Page is more superior with those darting in straights and jabs. And I think if he's not going to outpoint him, he's definitely going to knock him out.
You said Buckley will knock out Page.
No, Page will knock out Buckley, I think.
You
based
think
off
so?
the performance I saw.
So?
Yeah. That wrestling was terrible. I didn't think his wrestling was that bad. I thought it was Kamaru, veteran, why he was getting taken down. And I'm not shitting on Brady, but you talking all that new star getting in the top 10, you're 9, you can't beat number 6. That's literally showing your skill level.
I think I'm off of the MVP train. A lot of sizzle, not a lot of steak, because we see him against like low level Bellator, who's the Pokemon ball. But like once when his competition stepped up in Bellator, he wasn't finishing people like that. And in these UFC fights, all I see is a lot of like Mortal Kombat, Street Fighter, when you have a pro fighter just bouncing back and forth and not doing anything. So I don't think I'm going to agree with you, and he's going to just go out there and knock Buckley out. I think he's going to, pepper him up, dance around, do a bouncing around, and what performance of MVP the past 10 years would make you think he'd go in there and just starch Buckley, Steve?
I was going off of him MVP, what he did to Holland. And based off Holland, maybe in a different weight class, but starched him, I thought he would maybe have a chance, to at least because he got some good shots off on Holland, and Holland has a good chin. But
I don't think Holland was. I don't think Holland was in trouble that fight though. MVP got a few good shots, but I don't know. I just think I was like a huge MVP fan. Like once we saw what he was doing in Bellator, and that was like 10 years ago. And I don't know. I feel like I thought he would be like the welterweight Anderson Silva, but I don't think that came to fruition. But I still wouldn't mind seeing the fight, but I don't know if MVP would go in there and knock him out like that. But like I was saying earlier, what does Buckley need to do to fix his ground game that he has holes in?
Man, I mean, he's got to just do nothing but work on the ground game, really. I mean, that's all there is to it. I mean, that's easier said than done. He looked like a fish out of water. I don't know that I've ever seen him look like that. I mean, I know I'm no athlete, but he just looked, bad. But the thing is, he's got a wrestling background and a wrestling base. So I just thought that he would do better, like have some way to kind of escape some of that. But I mean, evidently that he's always been, a powerful wrestler from the top. He's just never had to fight from the bottom, I guess. I don't know, but he's just going to have to try something.
So do you think, because he's from St. Louis and he's still fighting out of St. Louis, does he need to spread his wings and go to one of these big camps like a ATT or Couture out in Vegas? Does he need to get out of this Missouri bubble?
I would think so, because looking at the camps that he goes to, I've never heard of either one, which, I mean, that doesn't mean anything, but I don't think they're, any of the bigger ones that are, more well-known and well-rounded. So I would say, yeah, he needs to change something up.
You think he needs to leave Missouri, Steve?
Definitely. I think whatever his camp is, focuses on his strengths, which is his striking. I definitely can't be any wrestling or grappling. This is 2 in a row. He's faced 2 grapplers. And like I said, I thought Buckley was a formidable wrestler to at least keep his own, to get off his own style. We just haven't been seeing that the past 2 fights.
Yeah, man. It's cliche, but iron sharpens iron. If he's in a big fish in a small pond in this camp where it's just got like a bunch of regional fighters and people that are paying just to take MMA classes he's sparring with, that's not going to get him better. But go down to Coconut Creek, Florida and fight with those killers there, or out in Vegas, you get better. You'll be forced to get better. So yeah, I think it's time for him to leave. But what I know, like you said, we're not pro fighters or athletes or coaches. So, but you like to see him bounce back. So we'll see what happens with him moving forward. But let's keep it moving, fellas. In the heavyweight division, we had Alexander Volkov defeating Waldo Cortez Acosta by unanimous decision. I had Volkov, Steve Ammeyer had Acosta. So yeah, this was a pretty tactical fight by Volkov. He's a lanky dude, so he was able to use his frame and kind of neutralize Cortez by staying on the outside, using those calf kicks and the jabs. Salter Boy, like when he was able to kind of penetrate, he did land some heavy shots, but it just wasn't enough. Volkov stayed composed, dominated. I don't know. I feel like the rounds were a little bit weird, but I feel like he comfortably won that last round and was able to get the win. What are your thoughts this one, Ammeyer?
Yeah, Acosta had his moments. A couple times he landed some big shots that seemed like they would have finished. Volkov, and Volkov had his moments where he seemed like he was going to finish Acosta. But I scored, I think, rounds 1 and 3 for Volkov. His reach was just way too much, keeping Acosta back to where he couldn't land anything. He had to pretty much jump or kind of Superman punch his way in half the time. So it's hard whenever you have somebody that's tall. I don't even remember how tall Volkov is, but
6'7".
yeah, 6'7", and I think Acosta's probably on the shorter side for heavyweights. So
no, Acosta's a pretty big boy. I think he's 6'4".
What?
6'3", 6'4", if I'm not mistaken.
Then his reach is real short because he could not get anywhere near Volkov. Like,
yeah, Acosta's 6'4". His reach is 78 inches.
Man, then I don't know. Then Acosta needs to do something different because the way that it looked, Volkov, you would have thought that he had like a 10-inch reach advantage on him because Acosta could not get anywhere on the inside. I just assumed that he was way shorter.
6'4", and then like I said, Volkov's 6'7", but 80-inch, so it's not. He doesn't have that big of a reach advantage over. It was just crazy. Now you say that because it looks like Volkov was able to use that reach, and like you said, Costa was able to get to him like that.
Like he literally had to jump, and he did a couple Superman punches to get on the inside on him. Like, so that's crazy. I just automatically assumed that he was like completely shorter, but hearing that's wild. So I would say Acosta probably needs to work on stand up in boxing, and why the hell he can't get inside on somebody that's close to the same size as him, because that makes no sense.
3 inches, that's still a good bit of height, but 80 inches, that's like one of the longest reaches in the UFC. So both of those guys got pretty long reach. But so I don't know. So, Volkov, like you said, it's easier said than done to maybe try to close the distance and close the gap and get on the inside. But what were your thoughts on this one, Steve?
Yeah, just thinking of, I'll say my opinion, but just thinking off what y'all said, do you think in physics, longer your legs, which I'm thinking manipulates how you can reach no matter what your arm length is? If y'all think if that's possible, if y'all get what I'm saying.
So are you saying with your legs?
Basically, what I'm saying is, I think leg reach should be a factor because that's a big problem. Why I agree with y'all. Cortez or Costas, he lost. I mean, you guys mentioned about the same arm length, like 3 inches, but who's to say that might not manipulate or deceptive? How if you that 3 inches is you got like a 90 and 80-inch leg reach.
Well, yeah.
And the other person has like a 75. I'm pretty sure that would manipulate the. And when I see that, I see people who are like height differences in the lower weights. It's a little bit different when you get to the heavyweights, because I've noticed anybody who's short and of Costa's size against somebody who's taller, they end up striking like it was reminiscent of Mark Hunt trying to hit that tall Stephen Struve,
He got
and I think that was a big factor. Maybe they didn't compensate that, but definitely out of reach. And saying that, I think maybe one day they need to interject, which I think I've seen on a promotion, leg reach.
Yeah, well, Hunt was able to get through that reach with Stephen Struve. He slept him, but yeah, I think
I say he jumped up
yeah.
to get that hook off on him.
I think leg reach should be taken in consideration because, like you said, that may add to it because Volkov is utilizing those leg kicks, and then you got to watch for the head kick if you taking that into consideration. I don't know if you want to add to that, Amar.
Yeah, I never really thought about that, but that makes perfect sense. The leg reach thing, it could be all the difference in the world. And it should be something that's talked about, even though it's hard to measure because some people can do the splits, some can't. So that's kind of a weird thing. But even if you were like doing this, just sit down and stretching out your legs, leg length should be a thing because, you know, if I'm 6 foot tall and you're 6 foot tall, our legs are going to be different lengths, you know, the inside measurements, just because people are built different. And whoever's got the longer legs can pivot and turn different and throw kicks from different angles differently. So I think that's actually probably a bigger factor than actual reach. So, yeah, I think that's a good point. And I think that was the big difference with the Volkov thing, because in my head, even though we just talked about it, Cortez Acosta is still short in my head, because he could not get anywhere near Volkov.
Man, that's crazy. He's still saying 6'4" is short.
No, I mean, I know he's not short, but just because the fight is fresh in my head, and it looked like it almost, I mean, in my head, he's the same size as Pat Barry. Like, Pat Barry couldn't get on the inside with anybody because he was so short. I mean, that's how well Volkov used his leg reach to keep Acosta at bay. It made him look like he had no reach.
Yeah. Well, I'll give you Pat Barry, because if you're underneath 6 foot in the heavyweight division, yeah, I'll give you short. Same with Cormier. I think Cormier is like 5'11", so he's right underneath that 6 foot threshold. But yeah, Costa couldn't do anything with it. But going back to the winner, focusing more so on the winner, Volkov, former Bellator champion. What is he ranked in the heavyweight division? A very shallow division. He's ranked at number 2. Wow, ranked really high. Like I said, shallow division. Can he make a push to get that title shot at Haymaker?
I have to imagine that he's going to be in line somehow, some way.
Only 37. That's young for heavyweight.
Yeah, I mean, so we have like Piera and Cyril Gahn lined up. We have Aspinall that's the champion. Where does John Jones fit in all this?
He's retired.
Okay, John Jones
retired. He's
retired. So we'll take him out of it. I have to imagine that Volkov is going to fight the winner of Cyril Gahn and Alex Piera, because Aspinall is probably still sidelined.
He said he's training now. I saw a headline saying he's back in training.
Well, then I would say Aspinall has to fight the winner of Gahn Piera, and Volkov can have the winner of that. Because
it's a long time waiting.
But there's really nobody else to fight Volkov. I mean, they might get Josh Hokett in there if Hokett beats Derek Lewis, just because Hokett's loud and they've been seeming to kind of reward that behavior.
Yeah. You know, Eli, when Sean Sean Strickland is condemning your behavior, you know, you're doing something. But that's a story for another time. But yeah, I mean, I'm with you. If you're a Volkov, you might try to sneak on the radar and wait, but I don't know if they'll let you wait that long, because, like you said, you have to wait for the winner of the White House fight with this interim belt, and then probably at the end of the year you'll see Aspinall fight the winner of that. So you won't really shelf that long, especially when 37. Like I said, that's young and within the realm of heavyweight, but still, you want to keep the juices flowing at that age. So I think I'm with you, Amaya. I think you see what happens with Hokett after this Lewis fight, and then you probably try to hope that Hokett wins that, actually, so you can face him probably on the same card as the Aspinall and the winner fight, and then try to. If you can't be Hokett, then you don't deserve a title shot. So I feel like he should do one more fight. What do you think, Steve?
Definitely, I think he's up there, but I think he has to be on a weight, like you said, with this fight coming up with Gahn. And not only that, maybe he has to double weight, because he lost against Aspinall too. So it's like, after Gahn, if he loses, I would figure that he would, because I damn near forgot they fought twice and Volkov lost. So I figured that he would have to do some waiting even after Aspinall comes in, if Piera or Gahn wins that fight. I maybe, but they might not throw Volkov in there with Gonigan based off of promoting a person that lost to him 2 times.
Yeah, he's kind of in a tough spot. You probably have a better chance of getting that rematch with Aspinall, even though he got submitted. I didn't know Aspinall really had that in his bag of tricks. I have to go back and watch that fight. I'm probably sure I watched the fight, but it was so long ago. That was in 2022. Yeah, he might be stuck between a rock and a hard place, but I'd have to go back and watch those Gon fights because they were both decisions. So I don't know if it was close fights or he got dominated by Gon in those fights. But it was a split decision, so that had to have been close. The one that happened in 2024, late 2024. Yeah, I don't know. He might be stuck within a rock and a hard place as far as like who comes out as champion. He better hope that Pereira comes out. That'd be his best option.
Yeah.
If Pereira comes out as champion. But yeah, like I said, former Bellator champion. So he's got the championship medal. So we'll see what happens with him moving forward. But let's move on to the co-main event, fellas. For the flyweight championship, you had your champion Josh Van defeating Tatsuro Taira, TKO, 5th round. Me and Steve both had Van. Admire had Taira in this one. Super exciting fight. It's a clash of styles. It also, I didn't notice, it was the first fight between 2 Asian-born fighters for a championship. Taira controlled the early grappling exchanges, but Van, he had the boxing, and in those championship rounds, Van started to really put it on. And in that 5th round, he landed that devastating combo and dropped Taira against the fence. And then that referee stoppage. I guess we'll get into whether that was a good stoppage or not, too. But what were your thoughts on this one, Admire?
Yeah, this is a great fight. This was a fun one, man. They both had big moments throughout the fight. Taira had the opening rounds looking good, hitting takedowns, controlled a lot of it, pushed a lot of it forward. But then Josh Van turned it around, showed why, he's a champ. I really like his boxing style. That dude, he puts combos together real good, and he puts a lot of power behind everything he throws. I was kind of a doubter coming into this, especially, I backed it up with my pick, taking Taira. I thought Josh Van, I don't like the way that he came into the belt. I don't like the way that he celebrated, that fight, getting the belt on a injury. I think anybody who does that's a dork, like Weidman celebrating when Silva broke his leg. But, that's a whole other issue. But, just the way Josh Van looked the other night, I think that, maybe he might be around a while, with that belt. I thought that he might turn around and lose it pretty quickly, but maybe he does deserve to be up there.
I mean, in the moment, of course, you can't control your emotions in the moment. You won the belt, like you said, even though it wasn't ideal the way you won it. Because I think even once the adrenaline started rushing down, he was able to, be like, he didn't want to win it like that. So you really blame him for his initial reaction of winning a championship of the world.
And his post-fight thing the other night was fucking dumb.
What? I can't remember. I watched it, but I can't remember exactly what he said.
Oh, his who did he get the belt from? Pantoja?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, he beat Pantoja.
Yeah, because of the injury, right? Well,
yeah.
He said something in the post-fight about get your shit together. Let's run it again. And Pantoja was looking at the camera like, what? Like, get my shit together. Like, I got injured. Like, what?
I thought that was funny, actually. But we'll get into that in a little bit. What are your thoughts on this one, Steve?
Yeah, I think Van, he came in pretty quick as far as his stardom. I think, seeing the past who he fought before Royval, it really gave him stardom in that Royval fight, especially digging in and showing his boxing on display on that fight. So, people are saying, like, is it a fluke or is it like a contender coming up. Pantoja, the injury. I think this fight stamps him as somebody special or not somebody to look over based off the Pantoja kind of threw off his projection on how he's perceived as a champion. And we really couldn't figure that out with Pantoja. But saying Royval and Tyra, as far as having those fights under his belt, I think we have a problem in this division. And I think he came on the scene, and I think people may have doubted him by the way he came in, but I think he's proven so far, especially against Royval and Tyra. I think he's going to be a problem.
Yeah, I like Van's style. He's an action fighter. He goes in there to finish fights, but to beat a man, you got to beat the man. And we know it's probably going to be Pantoja, as long as Pantoja's recovering pretty well, that they'll probably make that fight next. I know once we actually get the fight set in stone, we'll break it down and whatnot. But just on first thought on it, Amar, you think that Van can go in there and beat Pantoja? Because we know what kind of streak Pantoja was on before this injury. Sometimes injuries, you're never the same fighter after that. But I don't know. Like I said, I haven't really done a lot of research on how he's recovering. But once this rematch happens, think the lines will be close for this one, Amar?
Yeah, I think that, Van's little tradition is going to continue being the underdog, because I think he's been the underdog in like the last 6 fights that he's been in. I think Pantoja will come in as the favorite again. And when we do our picks, I'll probably go with Pantoja.
Yeah. Like I said, I don't know if it's even close to this fight being made. But Steve, you think Van will fare well against Pantoja?
I think so. I think people are going to surprise him. I think he's riding the wave now, probably figuring out how good he is. And I think like I said, he partly found that out with Royval, and definitely found out with Tara.
Yeah. He showed that he's a dog, so I'm curious. I'm excited to see that match getting made. I'm sure it'll be fourth quarter when they make that fight. Like I said, if Pantoja is recovered on track. But going on to Tyra, it was a good fight. He shouldn't put his head down. I don't know. Before we get into maybe what's next for him, I was saying he complained about it being stopped. You think it was a good stoppage, Amar?
I think it was a good stoppage. This is another case that if it wasn't stopped, it had the potential to take a lot of unnecessary punishment. But I think this one, even more so, he was out more than Diaz was in that previous one that we discussed. I think Tyra was even further out.
Yeah, I think it was a good stoppage. I think he was out. And of course, once the rest stopped it, he was able to gather his wits. But I think, good stoppage. What about you, Steve?
Definitely no complaints from me.
Okay, so Tyra, I think he was ranked. What was he ranked coming into this one? He was 3, so nothing's moved. I was gonna say I would like to see him against Horiguchi, but Horiguchi's got Cap on a fight night coming up, so I don't know who you even pair Tyra up with next, Amar.
Well,
I don't know if you
have him fight the winner of that one
of Cap and Horiguchi.
Yeah, he hasn't faced either one of those. I think that makes sense.
Cap number 2, Horiguchi number 5. So they would be able to market into Asia if him and Horiguchi would face off. I'm sure they may even have it over there. When's the last time they had a Japanese card? I know they've gone to I want to say Korea and China. I don't know. You were able to do a quick search when the last time they've been in Japan?
Let's see. I think it's been a while.
Sure, a quick Google search on my behalf, I would be able to find it. But
2012?
That's insane.
Is that right? No way. That can't be
That
it.
might be right. I mean, it's been a while. I would be able to remember it being pretty close. I'm gonna say me and Steve were talking about that not too long ago. Maybe it might have been like 2016 or 2017. I mean, it's been a little minute. They've been, like I said, they've been to Asia. Because I want to say Korean Zombie fought like in his home. 2017 is the last time they went to Japan. It was St. Preux versus Okami. So they're coming up on 10 years. They need to go back there. If you put on Horiguchi in an entire fight, that'd be a good reason to go back. But if Van is able to get through Pantoja and like I said, you can market that style, even though he's a lighter weight fighter. Sometimes UFC are weird about promoting those. You think they should really, push him if he's able to defend his belt a few times? It's like a face of the company, am I?
I think so. I think he's got kind of the style, the attitude, the looks. I think he's got a little bit of it all. I think that if he does pull off like another win or two, that they should throw everything behind him and try it out.
What do you think, Steve?
Definitely. As far as that Japanese card with
no. As far as pushing Van as the next face of the company,
for sure. I think he proved it. Beat Royval, who is up and coming, about to knock on the door, and then beat Tara, a star himself. I think they should start investing, especially, I'd say, who knows when his next fight is, but if he gets that Pantoja fight, I think it's stars to the limit for him, because he's already knocked off top dogs when people didn't even expect it. Like I think you said, because of the odds, he's always been an underdog. So I think people need to start giving him some respect because he's proved it so far.
Yeah, so all you gotta do is just stay the course and keep winning, and then a lot of times then you finally get the recognition that you want. So we'll see, but definitely looking forward to next fight they finally put on paper with him. But let's talk about the main event, fellas. For the main event for the middleweight championship, we had Sean Strickland, your challenger, defeating Khamzat Chimaev, giving him his first loss ever. All three of us had Chimaev in it. So that first round, Chimaev dominated with the wrestling. I'm like, okay, so I already know how this fight's gonna go. So sitting back, and then after that, it's a completely different fight. Turned into a jab fest. Strickland was just jabbing him to death, basically for the rest of the fight. You see, Chimaev had a few spurts, and like when he actually tried to throw something, he would land. But other than that, it was just Strickland doing Strickland things, able to implement whatever style, I don't even know what you could call it, this Philly shell and jab style, and was able to get the split decision in this one. What were your thoughts on this one, Amar?
There's so much to unpack with this fight. First round, as soon as it opened and he got that takedown, I was like, oh, well, this fight's over. And I mean, it's that's exactly what everybody expected. The odds, I was messaging you before the fights, like the odds moved all day. I think when I first originally put money on it, Chimaev was like I think a minus 650 or 680. By the time the fights came on, he was a minus 580. So a lot of it was shifting towards Strickland the closer the fight got. But, I was talking to Andre before the fight, and I was like, man, there's a lot of pros and analysts picking Strickland. I was like, man, there's just no way. And crazy. I mean, it kind of went the way that the pros were talking about, is he couldn't get him down second round, and then it was just a jab fest in doing that awkward style that he does, and it worked somehow. I don't know if Chimaev got tired, which, at the beginning of the second round, yeah, he shot that for that lazy takedown, but he didn't really look tired the rest of the fight, but he just couldn't get the takedown. So I don't know. And then I heard that Strickland actually had like a dislocated shoulder or something during this fight. So that makes it even more impressive. So I don't know, man. Sean Strickland, he keeps winning, but it's like how? Like, you have the most basic ass style and you keep winning. It's just weird. Just weird.
I just think he ends up in the perfect storm, but we'll get into that a little later. What are your thoughts on this one, Steve?
Yeah, I thought it was going to be a domination. I think we've seen this before with Chimaev. I think we have seen him have some weakness as far as not having the stamina or, straight motivation to dominate somebody all rounds. What was his last fight? I think may have done with DDP.
He fought DDP. It was DDP when he got the title.
But from what we always known, Chimaev, who knows, his nutritionist, maybe it didn't work. Sometimes when you do something certain days, you feel off the next day. And I think him cutting this time totally affected him to hit his gas tank. And not only that, after effect, hearing what people around it saying that in the gym, I think even Strickland mentioned it. Then maybe that's why he had confidence. You stuff some of them takedowns, he starts getting lazy or unconfident. And I think that's what had a large part to do with Strickland's win. But, yeah, I mean, somehow his style works. I seen a few teep kicks he was doing. He was hitting the jab, basically set him away. And I think the motivation from stopping those takedowns is mentally what shut Chimaev down more than anything.
Yeah, like you said, Admire, for some reason, a few of the experts or analysts or pros, they were like, look out, don't sleep on Strickland. He might win it. And I just thought they were selling wolf tickets, but they must have known something that we didn't, because Strickland ended up pulling this one out. Split decision. So a judge did have Chimaev winning the fight. So some of those closer rounds, like, I feel like we talked about it earlier. Sometimes I wish judges would just rule it like a 9-9. Nobody did really anything, so this round's a draw. But a lot of judges are scared to do that. So I feel like some of those fights, both fighters weren't really doing a whole lot. Some of those rounds, I don't know. But either way, Strickland did what he needed to do to win. But talking on the Chimaev side of things, I know hindsight is always 20/20, but maybe we should have saw this coming, because some of the things that Steve was talking about, we've seen in previous fights. The fight with Burns, where his gas tank looked iffy. Even with Usman didn't look bad in that fight. So is there a world where people need to start talking about Chimaev just sometimes him being motivated and then sometimes he's not motivated? Because like you said, Admire, he didn't take Strickland down in some of those later rounds, but I feel like he didn't even attempt to. Like, he might attempt once and then he just didn't even try. So is it just motivation on the side of Chimaev? I feel like if he's motivated, we saw what he did to DDP. That's how motivated Chimaev. But it seems like they were talking a lot of trash before the fight, but when he got in there, he didn't really look that motivated. So is it one of those things with Chimaev?
I don't know what it is, man. He's just a different cat all around. But some of his fights in there, yeah, he just kind of looks bored and unmotivated. I don't think he did shoot for many takedowns towards the end of the fight. And like, I don't know if he wants to prove that he can control the fight, kind of like he did with DDP, and just, make people look dumb and just control them, if that's his thing. Is that what he wanted to do with Strickland, but then he couldn't get it there? I don't know, man. He's just a different cat. Like, and there's already been a lot of articles like, this is why Khabib is better than Chimaev, because Khabib could finish fights and whatever. But I mean, I feel like Chimaev could have finished him in the first round when he had him down. It's almost like he was toying with him, like he didn't want to get the finish. Like, I don't know.
It's a mistake on my part. For some reason, like when I talk about fighters, I kind of group Chimaev and Makhachev together, but you wouldn't have seen this out of Makhachev. Makhachev would whoever he's fighting, he's going to drag them to the deep waters and keep the pressure on you. And it seems like I said, Chimaev doesn't look motivated at times. But people were speculating that this might be his chance just to go up in light heavyweight. But I just saw an article that came out today on my ESPN alerts. He says the next match, he's not taking another match. The only match he wants next is the rematch with Strickland. So what do you have to say to that, Amar?
I mean, I'm sure they'll give it to him just because, I mean, it's his first loss. And I don't know. I think they probably will, just because a lot of times they do that. But, you know, Strickland is kind of their golden boy, so they'll probably let him call his shots. So,
But would you mind seeing a rematch, Steve? Immediate rematch, that is.
I wouldn't. I don't think so.
You don't want to see an immediate rematch.
No, I don't think it was close enough, or
it was a split decision.
As far as like style wise to me. The reason why I say that is not only that certain people say there are stipulations of, you know, the weigh-in, but he doesn't fight often enough. I mean, you have to sit here and wait, and then on top of that, it looks like a three-way between, you know, champions. And, you know, sometimes champions, they take their time till their next fight. I mean, I don't think it was a good enough fight to make a, so to speak, we need a rematch. I honestly don't.
I want to see motivated Chimaev versus Sean Strickland. But if he's going to wait a year, then of course we can't wait a year for him to fight again. But if he's ready to go again in 5-6 months, then I wouldn't mind seeing that. Because looking at the Strickland side of things, we already saw the DDP fight. I don't want to see that as his next opponent. He beat Imavov. The only one I would be motivated to see or excited for him to see is the Barral fight. If they made that fight next, then that's the only one I would want to see ahead of Chimaev. I don't know if you agree with that, Amar.
Yeah, I think that's about the only one, really. I definitely don't want to see the DDP fight again. I've seen that too much.
Yeah. What do you have to say about that, Steve?
As far as the rematch in DDP,
Strickland, like, who could you put Strickland against if you're not going to put him against Chimaev? Like, we don't want to see DDP. I don't want to see the Imavov fight. The only thing that would make sense is the Barral fight.
Yeah, because he's too spaced out from losses now. I mean, can't do that.
Izzy and title shot don't need to be in the same sentence.
Yeah. So I would say, just for what it is, that's his only, you know, options for, unless I don't want to see Carano to claim that he beat this champion and let me get this fight so I can prove I can beat him.
I don't think
he beat him welterweight, but I don't know if they're going to entertain that.
Nah, they wouldn't let Kamaru just jump up the middleweight and get a title shot based on something that happened so long ago. Mm-hmm. I don't want to see Brendan Allen either. And other than that, didn't Strickland already beat Fluffy Hernandez? If I'm not mistaken.
Did.
Yeah. So yeah, I think it's either Barral or the Chimaev rematch. And I think I'm leaning towards the Chimaev rematch if he could get in back in time. But yeah, Strickland, who would have thought, 2-time middleweight champion. If you do that in the UFC, I mean, if you do less than that, you're in the Hall of Fame. So of course they're gonna put him in the Hall of Fame. I admire. But is this probably like, I don't want to disrespect him completely. Is this like the worst, like 2-time champion probably in the history of the company? Like,
yeah, I mean, It's gotta be like I'm trying to think of a worse one because this is so.
Carla Spaza. Definitely got to throw her in there.
Because I mean, he did just beat a really good fighter in Chimaev, but then other than that, like he went to a split decision with Paulo Costa just like a couple fights ago. Like he's been beaten by so many people. Like he lost to, Alex Pereira. He's lost to Jared Cannonier. So like I just think that he's a product of timing. That's all that you could really say.
And in his first defense, he lost the titles. Like he said, it just always lands in the perfect timing. Like I don't know, I don't want to give Chimaev an excuse, but it looks like he went in there with an unmotivated Chimaev. Yeah, he's just right place, right time. And I can see if he was putting on like these bangers, I'm like, all right. He might not be the most skilled, but he's putting on these bangers. He's a scrappy guy, but like his fights are just so frustrating to watch. Like I don't really like watching this fights like that. Like it's the jab. He comes in talking all this crazy stuff, and then he goes there and just jabs to the fight. I don't know. Next fight they put on, I probably ended up picking against them. So I don't know. What are your thoughts to wrap this up, Steve?
Yeah, he's in a hard place. I don't know where to put him. I mean, he's fought people, lost, but do we want to see it again? I think I'll have to look at the rankings to see who's out there lingering. Because as far as who's on that top, it's really put a wrench in the machine as far as who his options are.
I'll run through the top 9. Chimaev's still number 1. Well, he's number 1 after losing the championship. Then you got DDP 2, Imavov 3, Barhalo 4, Allen 5. Excuse me, Allen 4. They tied at 4. Barhalo and Allen are tied at 4, which is stupid. Then you got a tie at 6. What the hell are they doing? For Fluffy Hernandez and Pfeiffer are both 6. And then you got Rader and DeRitter at 8. I'll sign you at 9. Just might as well wrap up the top 10. Whitaker at 10. So you're not gonna reach back to like the number 7 or number 8 to give his next title opponent unless it's like a last minute replacement. So
yeah, I would say the only possibility of something new to entertain is that Brawlhalla, and he's probably a fight or 2 away from Strickland, but everybody else is recycled news.
Yeah, well, he is the middleweight champion, so you got to put some respect in his name until he loses the title, which most likely be the next fight. But we got to get into this card going down this weekend, fellas. Going down in sunny Los Angeles, California. We got MVP MMA, Rousey versus Carano. And they got a preliminary card that's on YouTube, but we'll skip that. So let's go to the main card. Heavyweight division, we got Junior Dos Santos versus Robelis de Spain. 2 former UFC fighters. Who you got in this one, Amir?
I don't even remember the other guy.
He just fought in his last time he was in the UFC was in December of 2024. So he's not too far removed.
He's been in the UFC more recent. He's got a big size advantage. If I remember correctly, Dos Santos, I think his chin started giving away towards the end. Give me this Spain guy.
So you got the Spain. I have the odds pulled up, but they still got the Larkin fight on there. They don't even have the JDS odds on there. I don't know if you could pull up the odds on that specific fight, Amir. I think JDS would probably be going in as an underdog in that one. While Amir's doing that, who you got in this one, Steve?
I'll go with Despain, the size difference, which I think he's a pretty tall dude and younger and does have knockout power, so I think he's more able to get the win.
So you don't think either one of you? I don't think EADS has one more run in them.
I don't think so. He's getting up there in age and wear and tear.
For odds, we got Despain at a minus 480 favorite and JDS at a plus 330 underdog.
Well, I can't go against that. I said the house always wins. So
hey, they were wrong this weekend.
All three of us got JDS. Excuse me. All of us got the Spain this one. I'm picking you. Like you said, they're wrong. Imagine putting. You should have put like $100 on Strickland, am I?
Yeah, shoulda, coulda, woulda. Oh, and yeah, before we get too far outside of that, did you guys hear about all the people that have committed suicide over the Strickland fight? Because there's a lot of people that
literally commit suicide.
Yes, there's a lot of people that took out loans, that pawned like all their shit and put in betting on that fight, betting Strickland was going to lose. And
you got a problem if you. It's sad that they commit suicide. Like, why would you do it? Just because? What was he, like a -5? Like, why would you're not getting that much back on winning that fight?
That's how much faith people had in Chimaev. Like, people, I've heard of 2 people as of yesterday committing suicide because, like, they're talking about these people like put their house up, they pawned like their wife's jewelry, like they bet everything they had on Chimaev winning, and they lost everything. So bet responsibly, people.
Yeah, they have a gambling addiction line. So that's no joke. It's like it's not that serious. And I know once something like that happens, and you feel like your life is over. But yeah, the gambling hotline. If anybody has any problem, 1-800-522-4700. If any listeners don't have an addiction, because definitely you want to throw your life over betting. But before we move on to the next fight, sometimes I forget to give the results for our picks. Admar, you went 1-4 with the picks.
Horrible.
Steve went 2-3, and I went 3-2, which I have a little bit of breathing room. But Admar, you're 13-12 for a year. I'm 15-10, and Steve is 10-15. So maybe Steve could creep up and get over 500 with these fights. Like we're talking about this fight this weekend. But moving on, lightweight division, we have Saldine Parnas versus Kenneth Cross, and I was doing a little research. This Parnas guy, he's got some buzz. He fights over in KSW. It's one of the bigger promotions in Poland. French guy. He was on Ariel Helwani's show. Apparently, he's got a little motion. Who you got in this one, Admire?
Yeah, I was just looking at both of them, kind of going through them, and this Parnays, I guess is how you say his last name.
I think they pronounce it Parnas.
Yeah,
he's
got a good looking record on him. Looks like he only has 2 losses, but he's got a lot of finishes, 7 knockouts, 7 submissions. It looks like his last 4 wins were all, TKOs or KOs. So I'm going to go with him.
So Admire has Parnas. Who you got, Steve?
Yeah, I'm trying to.
Oh, and Parnas is a -900 favorite. Cross is a Cross is a +520 underdog.
I'm like at CBS. They said odds are unavailable, so I'm like, all right. So I'm glad that you pulled that up. Who you got, Steve?
I'll go with Parnas. I haven't seen his fights, but from what you say, I'm gonna have faith in him.
Hey, I can't go against those odds, so maybe I'll take out my mortgage and put it on Parnas. Just like these guys were doing with Chimaev. I'll go with Parnas in this one. Let's get down to business. Heavyweight division. We got Francis Ngannou versus Felipe Lins. You got in this one, Admire?
Well, Francis Ngannou is a minus 2,000. Minus 2,000 favorite. If you don't know what that means, you got to bet $2,000 on him to win 100. And his opponent is a plus 830 underdog. If you bet $100 on him and he wins, you win 830. That's, I mean, I think you could safely bet your house on this one. Francis Ngannou.
Who you got, Steve?
Francis Ngannou, of course.
How do you two think Ngannou's gonna win?
I mean, I think it'll be probably a first minute knockout.
Wow, I think he's gonna finish him off that quickly.
Yeah.
Now, what about you, Steve?
I think Ngannou is one of the few people who's lingering outside of the UFC that still has UFC, prestigeness. And I'm pretty sure his power ain't going nowhere. And I'm pretty sure no one's just taking him down out of nowhere from supposedly any unknown wrestlers we don't know. And I'm assuming not to take his skills away, but I don't think anybody's taking Ngannou or surviving getting knocked out before.
Yeah, I think Ngannou's gonna. I got Ngannou as well. I think he's gonna finish him, but I'll save it for the recap show. We'll talk about Ngannou a little bit more once we recap this card. So let's move on to the co-main event in this one. This one should be pretty interesting. I'm curious to see who y'all pick. Welterweight division, we have Nate Diaz versus Platinum Mike Perry, which hopefully will be a slobber knocker. Who you got in this one, Amar?
On this one, Mike Perry minus 230, Nate Diaz underdog plus 176. I think Nate Diaz is just well past his prime, man. He wasn't always the best fighter, but I think that he's pretty famous now. He does a lot of podcasts. He's in kind of the Hollywood mix. I think he's more famous as a person now than as kind of a fighter. So I don't know how much training he actually does now or how much effort he's going to put in. This being with a different promotion, I don't know if he's in it just for the money now or what. And I think Mike Perry is just all around. He likes fighting. I mean, and he's kind of the king of violence. So I'm going to go with Mike Perry on this one. I think it'll be pretty quick fight.
I feel like even though he hasn't fought him, I feel like Diaz is pretty durable. It might go past a round. Who you got in this one, Steve?
Yeah, kind of hard to say. And if it goes to the ground, I can see Diaz pulling off a submission, quite honestly, if Perry gets too tired. But Mike Perry has that viciousness as far as striking and throwing bombs and digging in there. And I mean, even if Diaz hit him with a good one, when's the last time Mike Perry? What was it? Boxing? He got with Jake Paul, and I mean, pretty much he's for real been durable. He's taken a knee to the face and had a crooked nose, and still fought through that. I mean, I think he's willing to dig in there more than Diaz can take if he can hurt him. I want to go with Mike Perry. I like Nate Diaz, but I think Mike Perry might possibly get the TKO or KO.
I didn't know you were a Diaz fan like that.
I consider these two. I mean, I like him, but sometimes Diaz, who he fights, I have to choose the other person. But in this case, Diaz is cool in my book, but I don't think he's going to pull it off this time.
I feel like we should get points for predicting this fight before they even made it. On the show, we predicted that this fight should happen, and now it's finally come to fruition. So pat ourselves on the back for that one. Let's move on to the main event. Women's featherweight division, the headliners, Ronda Rousey versus Gina Carano. a fight that nobody really saw coming, a fight that maybe made 10 years, 12, 15 years too late. But now that we're here, are you excited to see this fight, Amar?
I mean, you got to be a little excited, even though it's way too late and everything. It's one of those. It's better than nothing, even though it's not going to be, exactly what you wanted. But it'll be fun for what it is. It'll be interesting to see if Carano still has it. It'll be interesting to see if Rousey still has it. It'll be a huge shakeup in the whole world if Carano beats Rousey. So, I mean, it's a lot of weird things that could happen. And then it's interesting seeing Rousey kind of talk shit on the UFC. It's funny seeing her talk shit on the UFC and then people kind of talking shit to her back. I don't know if you've kept up with any of it, but she seems to
let's hear it.
She seems to not really be a big fan of the UFC anymore. She kind of feels like they don't speak highly of her anymore, I guess.
I know a lot of the gripes I've seen, and she's talking about how they don't pay the fighters and how they're almost like a dictatorship.
Yeah,
I haven't really gotten into a lot of her sound clips leading up in the past couple of weeks. I don't know if she was adding any sound clips to that, am I?
Yeah, it was a lot of that, and then I can't remember exactly what was said, but something along the lines of something about making legendary fights or something. I don't know exactly what was said, but then somebody commented back, well, you're fighting somebody that hasn't fought for 17 years.
Did she respond to
that? I don't think so. I'll have to keep looking at it. But it is interesting to see her kind of have just a different attitude about it now. I don't know if it's maybe she grew up and seeing that it's just a shitty business, or maybe it's that, she thought the business was good when she was on the UFC side, but then she left and went to the wrestling side and seen how the money really is and how business should be ran. And then she realized that, it really was shitty over at the UFC. I don't know. But, hopefully she's getting taken care of over at MVP, and good luck to her. I don't think, win, lose, or draw, that she's going to make a comeback in the MMA world. I think this is just a one-off.
We'll probably talk about it a little bit more or recap this card, but what's your excitement level going into this weekend's fight card, Steve?
I mean, it is what it is. As far as Ronda Rousey, and it's something entertaining, somebody that we haven't seen, just to see what she can do today. I mean, we've seen what she could produce in the UFC, but I can say that she was gone for a long time. People were waiting for her to pick up. So for what it's worth, we get to see her again. Beast with the UFC, I've heard that, but I've heard she's more directed towards Hunter Campbell more than Dana White. And it seems like she's giving respect to Dana White more than anything, but still shitting on the organization. I think it's a cool card, and I mean, I'll definitely be watching it. And I think they scrapped up a fight card with considerably, people who want to watch.
Yeah, anybody who shits on UFC and the TKO machine is okay in my book. But who you got in this one, Amar?
This is such a fucking weird fight.
I'm surprised you're doing your pick really quickly on this one. You see these odds?
I actually didn't even look at the odds. Is it that bad?
Ronda's a minus 500. Carano's a plus 375.
Carano hasn't fought in 17 years. How long ago was Rousey's last fight?
Rousey was 9 years ago. Oh no, what was it was 10 years ago almost. That it was 2016. It was the Nunes fight. So 9.5 years ago.
That was 9.5 years ago.
Yeah, time flies, man.
Holy shit. Well, I mean,
remember I was in Oregon. I remember watching that fight when I was living in Oregon.
Anything over 5 years, it doesn't matter.
I don't know, man. 17 and I know it's both of a long time, but damn near. If you the last time that Carano fought, whoever was born that year is almost a legal adult. That's kind of crazy.
Well, okay, I'm going to go with Carano, and I'll tell you why. I think she has more to lose and more to prove. She's been out longer. She really wasn't a fighter during the peak of fighting. She kind of was before. So she's got more to prove, and it means more if she wins. And I think Ronda also thinks that she's the better fighter, so she's not going to train as hard. And Ronda has traditionally trained around a bunch of yes men who will just tell her that she's doing great. So I think there's a lot of reasons that Gina Carano is going to win this.
Yeah. You didn't give me like technical reasons. You just gave me thinking that like outside factors will come into play.
That's all I need is it's all outside factors going to win this.
All right. Well, we were trending towards picking all the same things until we got to this one. Who you got, Steve?
I haven't seen, which I will, Gina Carano's fights based off of female fighting was stagnant around that time, and the only people who was just going through people was Amanda, and everybody else was just, stagnant energy. I would say Ronda, because I don't think anybody's peaked at that time above Amanda Nunes as far as her opponents on the level of anybody that Ronda can beat. Because if it wasn't Amanda Nunes, I think around that time, Ronda possibly could have beat the opponents that were lingering around that time. So I'll give it to Ronda. Although I can see the odds and motivation for Carano, and I might be mistaken, but she would have popped up on my radar for recent memory of her fights. But Ronda, I feel like she is what she is, but she's still one of those females who kind of knew how to put a little extra oomph and roughhousing into takedowns more than the usual females fighting. And I think her skill might be still good enough for Carano to do that to her. So I'll go with Ronda Rousey.
Yeah, I'm going with Rousey as well. It's interesting that you have so much faith in Carano. She hasn't fought in almost 2 decades, and when she fought, I feel like she was like, from the fights that I watched of her, she got starched by Cyborg, but Cyborg starched a lot of people. That was like the fight that really put women's MMA on the map. I remember watching that fight live just because there was a lot of hype around Carano. She was Ronda before Ronda as far as hype, but as far as her like actual fighting skill, I feel like she was like Misha Tate light. Like, I don't know. I was not like a huge fan of Carano style when she was at her prime, and now she's out of her prime. I just don't think she'll have anything. I think if Ronda were to fight anybody in the top 15 in the UFC right now in the bantamweight division, I would pick any fighter to beat Ronda. But she's facing Gina Carano. I think she's just going to go back to her bread and butter. She's going to get her paws on her, judo flip, and armbar her probably in the first round. So I got Rousey on this one. But I mean, you should put a little money on Carano then.
I will. I'll put a little money on it. I'll actually probably. Yeah, I'll put money on all my picks.
Plus 325. It'll get you some change back.
Here,
you hit on it.
Let me put it in right now, and I'll tell you what the payout would be. So if I do Gina Carano, and then Mike Perry. Yeah, we got to go with Ngannou. And Spain. On those 5 fights, if I bet $20, it'll pay out $178.
Yeah, see, that's some groceries. That's a groceries. So
yeah, that's a tank of gas in my new truck.
Jeez. Oh, you want to talk about that? That's a discussion for another day. But we've gone a little long, so let's wrap this show on out. But we'll be back next week to recap this card, and I'm actually excited to talk about how the presentation is. This is the first fight from MVP as far as MMA goes, so curious about presentation and commentary team and all that fun stuff. So we'll be back next week to recap this card. But that'll take us to the end of the show, and also we'll save the casual comment of the month for next week since we've gone a little long this episode. So we'll do that as well. But yeah, make sure to like and subscribe on YouTube. Make sure to follow us on all social media platforms, IG, TikTok, Threads, all that fun stuff. But that'll do it for us here at Haymaker Combat Sports. Until next time, be safe out there. Later.
Hit the takedown, ground and pound, that was from the top. Heel hooking, no more plot, I leave you in the knot. Pound for pound, been the greatest.